In the middle of the night, two bored teenagers decide to go inside of a storm drain, only to be met by a dark figure who chases after them. Meanwhile, a woman is sitting at her table painting, when, suddenly, her old stalker opens her door and invites himself into her apartment. Finally, a tired 7-year-old goes into her kitchen to get food for her younger brother. She runs into her mother, who's actually an imposter. Hello and welcome, crack souls of the internet, to Real Reddit Horror, the series where I read horror stories from Redditors that they swear are true. And without further ado, let's dive right into the realm of horror. Happened tonight. So me and one of my friends, I'll call him Thor cause why not, we went to the skate rink tonight and we're having a pretty good time. We chatted with friends and skated around the track, and we're having a good time, but you can only be there so long until you start to get really bored. We remembered there was this storm drain that opened up under the lot we were over, so being the dumb teenagers we are, we went to go see what was inside. We tried to round up all of our friends to go too, but they all pussied out, so it was just us two. For context, it's only about a 3-minute walk away. When we arrived, we walked into the storm drain. It was small, only about 6 feet wide and 3.5 feet tall. We started crouch walking through the drain. We were prepared for something to happen. We both carry knives or other tools with us all the time. Today, I had a tactical pen. When we went about 30 feet into the tunnel, we stopped. It was filled with trash, and we both thought we heard something. We heard footsteps and saw a person peeking from behind the corner. It started to turn right. As soon as we saw that, we ran out of there as fast as possible. We went back to the rink to recover. Then we went back. Yes, we went back after seeing that. Like I said, we both are dumbass teenagers. We found a metal pipe to bring with us that time. It was about 5 feet long, with the pen. We walked in again, deeper this time, when we heard footsteps in the damp, wet tunnel. Then they started to get faster. Thor threw a glow stick into the darkness. Then the footsteps became quicker and louder. We saw a dark figure coming after us, and we dashed. I deadass have never run that fast in my life. We went back and didn't go back until about an hour after. We didn't go into the tunnel. We just went outside to see if the glow sticks were still there. We had dropped a few so we wouldn't get lost, and dropped the metal pipe when we dipped, close to the entrance, and you'd never guess what we found. Nothing. Whoever was in there had picked up all the glow sticks and the metal pipe and was still in there. You might be curious how we knew. We saw footprints on the ground leading to where the metal pipe was, then footprints going back into the darkness. Let me just say, this isn't the last time we go on an adventure like that, but it's the last time I'm going into that damn tunnel again. Probably just some homeless guy chilling in there. To add on to my theory, I used to walk around downtown San Jose, California for fun at like 13. We would go around and ask homeless folks if they have any stories. Most common one was scaring people in a place where they both probably shouldn't be. Yeah, that was our guess. One detail I forgot to mention is that we found a bunch of needles down there. But then again, that's to be expected. Yeah, for sure, guy was trying to fuck with y'all. Man walked into my apartment. I am a 32-year-old woman, and I live with my fiance in Texas. We live in a 2-story apartment complex on the 2nd floor on the outside of the apartment gate. We have never had any issues before, even though we aren't on the inside of the gates. We have 2 cats that like to roam around outside for an hour or 2 a day. so I usually let them out when my fiance is at work. On this day, I can't remember if I locked the bottom lock or just forgot to lock it in general. I was sitting at the table painting and didn't notice the door had quietly been pushed open. And then I see the light on the back wall from the sun, and I turned to see a man had 1 foot already in my apartment. I froze for a moment and just stared at this man that grinned at me and took another step and then another. I snapped out of it and thought, I can't let this man close the door. He is going to kill me. I jumped up and grabbed the closest thing to me, which happened to be an umbrella with a long, metal, sharp tip. I hit him with it repeatedly and cut his arm. He still approached until I hit him in the face and screamed at him to leave my apartment. I was not going down without a fight. The sharp tip cut under his eye before he gave up and left the apartment. I reported it to the police, to which they came and took a statement. And so far, I haven't heard anything back, and that was 3 months ago. Reported it to management and they sent a letter to the residents. The other day, I was talking to my fiance and I said, that man looked like the man that was stalking me when I worked at the mall. The one that kept coming back to the store and even waited in the dark, empty parking lot until I got off. I did share that story. I swear it was the same person. It had been a couple years, but I still remember him. I'm not sure how he knows where I live, and we can't afford to move. The cops do have this information. I'm scared, but I won't let him win. If he comes at me again, I am prepared. I won't go down without a fight. I've lived my life in fear of my family. I won't let this man win. Girl, you live in Texas. Get a gun and keep it on you. Shoot that motherfucker in the face if he walks back in your house. Unfortunately, my apartment does not allow them. Private properties can do that. I learned that recently when I was looking into it. While most are fine with it, mine isn't. We are trying to save money to move, but that probably won't be until the end of the year. I'd rather get evicted for having a gun than die because I didn't have one. They have no way of finding out if you don't tell them. If you end up shooting an intruder, you aren't going to want to live there after. Not a lawyer, but I don't think they can do much if you do. All they can do is refuse to renew your lease or terminate it early. Landlords can't arrest you for having a weapon. It's not even a be judged at by 12 or carried by 6 situation. They can't do anything to you other than you would have to move. I generally don't think violating a lease is the best idea in most circumstances. Please prioritize your safety above following the letter of the lease, whether that means getting a gun, pepper spray, or cameras. It looked like my mother. I grew up with a narcissistic mother and felt neglected, especially during my preteens. I was micromanaged, and my father was emotionally absent. As a 27-year-old female now, I understand my mom because I know how evil and abusive my dad was to her. It was a summer vacation of the mid-2000s. I was woken up groggy by my 4-year-old brother one afternoon from the longest nap ever. You know, the kind of naps that make you forget what time and year it is. I was frustrated, but I knew it was time for him to get his milk. My mom had went to see my grandmother, who just had a surgery. My mom usually keeps his food prepped. I just had to warm it up and give it to him. After laying in bed for a few more minutes, I headed to the kitchen. There she was, preparing his food. At first, I felt bad, knowing it was supposed to be done by me, and she had come back earlier, leaving Grandma. But something was not right. I noticed that whatever baby formula there was, she was putting everything in one meal, and she was so fast, like she was in urgency. But also, I remembered that the food was already prepared by her before she left. My brain was still restarting from that coma of a nap, so I was really confused. I called her. "When did you come back? And why did you not wake me up?" She faced me, and her face was so angry. I am used to her anger issues, but this was a face I was looking at for the first time. What is she so angry about? I can't exactly pinpoint it, but the shape of her face wasn't usual. Maybe the nose, or the jaw, or the eye placement. Something was either too big or too small. "Let me help you," I said. She didn't respond, and instead started stirring the feeder bottle so hard that the milk was splashing everywhere while her body was still and looking at me without even blinking. I looked at her face and saw that the face was getting more unfamiliar, especially the eye placement. After that, all I remember was my heart pounding so hard that I could almost hear it. I just grabbed my brother from the living room and ran. We had a huge front yard where we had another part of the house rented by a family. I asked the lady there if we could stay till our mom was back, and she was more than happy. I called my mom from their landline and asked her when she was coming back. She came back after 2 hours, and I was reprimanded so hard because the kitchen was a great mess. I don't know to this date if it was my groggy brain or I was just too traumatized by my mother to realize that my brain was making scenarios. Maybe it was me who messed up the kitchen. Maybe I was trying to cope so I don't feel guilty, because I was always made to feel guilty at the slightest inconvenience that occurred at our house. Why is a 4-year-old eating baby formula, especially out of a bottle? I don't know, but he ate till he was 6 or something. He had a slow growth and was always sick. My mom would give him that baby formula and also mashed and boiled veggies occasionally. The formulas were prescribed by a pediatrician. I get it. It wasn't exactly baby formula. It was a special milk formula for his growth issues and such. That makes sense. If you know of any stories you would like for me to read, or if you have your own, feel free to add them to the comment section. Thank you for watching. I've been Craxo Spinner, and until the next story, I'm just in my room.